Hello, everybody, and welcome to Is This the Norm? A quick plug before we get started. Wherever you get your podcasts, check us out. We're there. Also, like or subscribe, hit that like button, smash that like button, not the button, whatever you do.
Bucking.
Do it. Do it for Is This the
Do
Norm?
it.
You won't regret it. Okay.
Do it. All right, I'm Heather. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Today, we're going to delve into when things go wrong with the frontal lobe, more specifically, the prefrontal cortex. Therefore, we, of course, have to start with Phineas Gage. Anyone who has taken a Psych 101 course in college will remember this case because it is taught in all of them because it's crazy interesting. So, Phineas Gage was a 25-year-old railroad foreman. In 1848, he was using a tamping rod to pack explosive powder into a rock for blasting because they're building a railroad. When the explosive powder ignited and the 13-pound or 6-kilogram rod went through his left cheek and exited out the back of his skull. The size of this rod was 3.5 feet long and 1.25 inches in diameter. So not small, or 1.1 meters long, 3.2 centimeters in diameter. It went through his left cheek, destroyed his left eye, and exited through the top of his skull on the right side. So he was thrown back, but to everyone's surprise, he woke up after a few minutes and was observed sitting in an ox cart, writing in his workbook soon after. Meanwhile, the rod is laying on the ground, couple feet back, covered in blood and brains. So, like most injuries back then, it got infected. So it took a couple of months for him to recover, but he was up and walking around after about 2 months in town. So in 1848, very little was known about the functions of the brain. So Phineas's doctor took the opportunity to study him. I mean, think about how amazing it would have been for somebody to survive a brain injury like that, because it was just through the front of his brain. Okay, so that's why he survived it with basically very little cognitive deficiencies. So his doctor was like, well, this is interesting. I'm going to study this guy. And there was actually other studies, very similar studies going on around this time, just coincidentally. And it basically, the medical community figured out that injury to the prefrontal cortex of the frontal lobes of the brain can cause profound personality changes, even when cognitive ability remains largely unchanged. In his case specifically, Phineas's personality was drastically altered. So remember, before he was a foreman for the railroad construction, so he had to have been a responsible, upstanding citizen to make it to foreman. After the accident, however, his behavior was very different. Those who knew him before and after said he was no longer Phineas anymore. That's how different his behavior was afterwards. He was rude, disrespectful, cussed, proceeded with no regard to consequences, basically. He developed a habit of extreme profanity, struggled to follow through with plans, and exhibited a childish lack of tact and poor social judgment. He made impulsive decisions because impulse control is a large part of sociopathy. So because of these behaviors, Phineas was fired and could no longer hold a job. So he ended up as a circus attraction, unfortunately, carrying this rod around with him for a few years. Yeah.
Well, that's
However,
sad.
yeah, I mean, I knew
And
all
they didn't
about
have
all of
like
this.
workers' comp back then, I'm assuming.
No. Yeah,
Aw,
no,
and he
yeah,
has such
no.
a cool name, like Phineas.
I know, I
That's such a
know.
cool name,
It's a
He's
good thing
he's
I didn't have a son because I probably would have named him Phineas.
right?
he's actually very attractive, very handsome man, even with the one
Right,
eye missing.
right.
Yeah. I mean, not that
Yeah,
that
so
matters or makes you more worthy, but yeah,
yeah,
it's just
yeah,
really
he was a
sad.
young, attractive guy, had everything going for him
Yeah.
before this
Oh, man.
rod like went through his brain. So something I knew about all these things from Psych 101. Like I remember this case, it stuck in my mind. However, something I did not know until I conducted this research for this podcast was that his personality changes actually were reduced over time, as indicated by the fact that 4 years after his accident, he worked as a long-haul truck driver in Chile. And he did unfortunately die 12 years after the injury from an epileptic seizure related to the injury. His
So basically
mother
you're saying his like the his personality like went downhill immediately after the accident, but gradually
it got
became better.
better
Was
over
that like
time.
learned behavior then? Like he learned
They
how to act in society or like
It could be. I mean, I don't think we
okay,
know for sure, but
sure.
he was able to yeah, he might be the sociopaths are
Yeah,
able
that's
to
why.
mimic.
Yeah,
Right.
that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, it
Okay.
might not have gotten better. It might have just been he was able to cope better. But that also indicates that some impulse control was developed, though. Yeah. So, his mother actually donated both his skull and the rod to Harvard. And that's the picture we're gonna put on our podcast. So you'll have the
Yeah, I
skull
just saw
because
that picture.
it
Yeah, it
shows
shows
the
where it went
hole.
through.
It's a
Crazy.
huge
Huge.
hole.
I can't believe he
Huge.
survived.
I
That's
know, and the
insane.
rod is ginormous. It is not just like
It's
a
massive.
little like a bullet-sized rod. No, it's
Mhm.
1.25 inches, you guys.
It would be
That's
heavy to carry it
big.
around the circus is what I was
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah. 13 pounds, I think is what I said.
Yeah, it's big.
13 pounds or 6 kilograms. Yeah, yeah. So, Phineas's case was one of the first examples of evidence that frontal lobe damage can alter personality, emotions, and social interaction. This is referred to as acquired sociopathy. Acquired sociopathy often results from ventromedical prefrontal cortex damage. It can cause previously normal individuals to develop antisocial behavior, like a lack of empathy and poor impulse control. The brain damage significantly impairs social cognition and emotional learning, potentially leading to violent offenses. While the antisocial behaviors frequently decrease as time passes and the individual ages, there is no cure. So there is treatments for it. And I'll talk about some other cases at the end. But the frontal lobe is the largest lobe of the brain. It's located in the front of the head. It is the brain's hub for reasoning, planning, and self control. So, when things get damaged by it, those things don't. You're not very good at planning and reasoning and self control. Its development begins in the womb and continues growing through early adulthood. Did you all know this? That unfortunately for humans, this part of the brain matures last. It is not fully developed until we are 25. That makes so much more sense looking back. I'm like, why was I so dumb
It's
in
later
my
in men. I
20s?
think it's like 55 in men at least. I don't know. The jury's still out on my dad. He's what, 63? I don't know when his will mature.
No comment. I love you,
Yeah.
Dad.
I love you too, Dad, but truth hurts.
Yeah, at the same time, our limbic system, which is our emotional pleasure seeking center, develops faster than our rational frontal lobe. So, major flaw because this means that antisocial behavior is very likely in teenagers and young adults. No surprise there to anybody who's been those ages. On the other end of the spectrum are those that develop frontotemporal dementia, or FTD. So, this disease frequently targets the prefrontal cortex, which is the specific part of the frontal lobe that, when damaged, is prone to cause sociopathic behavior. So, there are a lot of examples of individuals that developed acquired sociopathy after FTD damaged their frontal lobe. This disease usually starts in the late 50s. So, there has been a lot of studies because there's a lot of examples of this. Like older, you think you're safe, you're like, "Oh, I'm 25. I can control my impulses and not do crazy stupid things that are antisocial behavior." And then you hit 50 or around there, and then you can develop this type of dementia that specifically targets that part of your brain.
So this
Doesn't
is
that
like midlife crisis stuff?
No, this is, like, later than midlife. This is some messed up stuff. So, okay, so my first example of acquired sociopathy caused by FTD is of a male in his 60s, totally normal guy, had no criminal record, you guys. He began stalking and attempting to molest children for the first time in his life. He followed children home from school, tried to touch them, and on one occasion, he put his arm around a young boy and then struck him when he tried to pull away. On another occasion, he stood at the foot of a pool and stared at the children for a prolonged time. When he exposed himself to his neighbor's children, he was arrested. He didn't deny his actions, could describe them in detail, endorse them as wrong and harmful. Despite this, he stated that he did not feel that he was causing harm at the time of his acts. So there's a few different, that's just one. There's like so many of this. It's kind of scary. I'm like, I don't want to get this, like of all things. I mean, I think we can all agree that like Alzheimer's and dementia is probably the worst thing that can happen to us when we get old, older. This isn't even that old. This is around 50. Well, that's even scarier because I'm almost there. So you guys got to put me out of my misery if I get this. So he
But Spartan style. Don't worry.
seriously, yeah,
Push ya.
do it. Do it.
Is
Do
that
it.
pushing down that big abyss?
Push him over a
What is-
cliff.
Throw me over
Yeah,
the cliff.
okay. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you could do it a little more humane than that, Heather, but okay.
Well, we'll
If it
drug you
works.
before we do it.
Okay. Make sure I'm gonna
You
die on impact, Heather. Make sure it's
You
tall
won't.
enough.
There's lots of those. We could go to Grant County and do it. There's lots of places in Grant County even.
Yeah, there is.
We got the Rocky Mountains next to you. Come on, we can find a place.
I feel like you
You
thought
mean-
about this, Heather.
I know.
How many
it's kinda
places
scary. She
exactly?
scared me right now.
I
I'm
just
not
know
near
my
the Rocky
geography a
Mountains.
little bit.
I'm by
Or
the Smoky
Mountains.
Mountains.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking here. Rocky
I was by
Mountains,
the
sorry.
Rocky Mountains, the last in
You were.
Colorado. or
Smoky
before.
Mountains is what I meant.
Yeah, so there's a lot of cases of this. I'll talk about a female case of this next, but before we get to that, fortunately for these people, they had no like criminal history before. A lot of times they actually didn't get in trouble. Like they didn't get time served because their doctors are like, this is what's going on with them. And I mean, I'm sure if they did something really bad, they would probably, like normally somebody doing this behaviors would go to jail though. This guy didn't because they had documented medical. I don't even know if they knew before, but they figured out this is what he had. I think they knew before. But anyway, he didn't get time served and he's like on drugs. They're monitoring him and like it's better, but again, there's no cure for this. The patient's personality had deteriorated over a period of 4 years with decreased concern for others, disinhibition, and compulsive hoarding. He caused disturbances at work, intruding into others' conversations, walking into other people's offices. He's taking supplies into his office, constantly pilfering and taking samples and hiding money. In restaurants, he would fill his pockets with sugar, napkins, and other items. In addition, he ate indiscriminately, even going through waste containers and eating garbage. He stopped showering, wore the same clothes every day. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So the second case that I'm going to bring up is actually a female. So I wanted a male and a female as
Before
an
we
example.
move on, that's fair to be the gender. I got some questions. Sorry, I was kind of. All right. So you said they medicated him. Is that correct? To help?
Yes.
Did they figure out like
Yes.
what kind of medic? I mean, of course, my brain
They
goes there. I
didn't.
don't
They
know.
didn't say.
Yeah, I'm
They didn't say.
curious.
I mean, it probably is case by case basis.
Mhm.
Like who? I don't know.
And I'm assuming
They
he was
didn't.
doing all these activities before they figured it out, like the stuff you're talking about, where he's going into people's offices or stealing
Yeah,
sugar.
this. I mean, it just
Hoping
got
that-
progressively worse over like 4 years because
Okay.
this starts like around 50 and he was in his early 50s. So it makes sense.
To me,
I'm
it
surprised
kinda
somebody didn't
sounds
speak up
like
sooner. That's what's crazy. Sorry, just
That's okay. To me, it kinda sounds like, hear me out. I feel like you know how everyone always is like, "Oh, there's that old creepy man, he's like 80 and he's grabbing all the nurses' butts, he just doesn't care anymore." As like you age, you like kind of care less, or you're less empathetic, or like I feel like maybe with these people in particular, like that natural, slow, steady progression of like not caring just like speeds up for them and gets to a point that's like inappropriate at a very young age. Not that like 80-year-olds get to that extent, but I wonder if there's some kind of like scientific brain deterioration that like is slower in like the majority of the population, but these ones in particular, like something sets it off and it just goes rapidly. Like people don't live long enough to become like sociopaths from this brain degradation. I know I'm
Right.
just making
Yeah.
this up in my
No, no,
head, but
yeah. I
like
mean,
a part of me
it's
feels like maybe there's
logical.
something to that.
It's logical what you're saying. Like, our
Yeah.
we have less synapses, we have less gray matter as we age, like that stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's over like your whole entire brain. So yeah, I mean, what you're saying makes sense. On a to a lesser degree of what we're talking about right here, like
Right.
these
Like
guys. Yeah.
something like there's some
Yeah.
kinda something that speeds it up quickly for them, and then they're just like,
Oh, no, there
do
is. There's a disease. They have dementia. It's a
yeah,
specific type of dementia that attacks that part of your brain that controls these things, unfortunately. So,
it's
yeah.
wild.
Yeah. So, second example of acquired sociopathy caused by FTD is a woman in her 50s presented with an 18-month progressive personality change accompanied by petty theft at retail establishments. She stole merchandise and would like go behind the counters and take items without concern for payment, even when she knew the merchants. Like she knew these people, like had been in the area for a long time and would still just go steal stuff. The only the intervention of her family prevented the merchants from, calling the cops basically and prosecution. Her family also described her as becoming disinhibited with a tendency to talk to strangers. When her specific behaviors were pointed out to her, she could describe them in detail. She endorsed knowing they were wrong. Asked why she engaged in such behavior, she would shrug and say, "That's me." So, I mean, I mean, does these sound like, sociopaths that we've heard of, like, for us crime junkies? This sounds familiar, right? I mean, it really does sound like they're not serial killers, but same type of behavior. It's
Yeah, I was
acquired.
just watching a clip today. It was just like some stupid clip about, I shouldn't say stupid, but it was about Dahmer and how he was interviewed. I don't know, this has got to be 30 years ago, maybe more, by one of like NBC journalists, a famous one. I can't think of her name, and how he's like describing what he did and why he did it. And it was very like, that's just what I did.
Right.
It
They
was
know
just
it's
very
wrong.
matter of fact.
Yeah. They know it's wrong.
I
So,
think that's what made other inmates so angry with him when he was incarcerated, because he would just talk about it just like it was just normal, natural, okay, laissez-faire about it, and that would just
Mhm.
infuriate them, um, the
Mhm.
other inmates.
Yeah, it's like he's telling you how to bake a cake.
Yes,
right.
This is how I cooked
crazy.
them. I first would start with this
Yeah,
part of the body, took a little bit from the bicep. And you're like,
yeah,
what the what? And that's
Ugh.
exactly how he's talking.
it's just
Yeah.
wild.
Yep. She would frequently make puns and burst into laughter. Her concern for others was very decreased. For example, when asked about the recent death of a close relative, she verbally expressed sadness and then quickly lapsed into laughter and lighthearted responsiveness. She was a compulsive tendency, particularly with regard to money. She would hoard things and hide it in different places. She developed an addiction to ice cream and gained a lot of weight. She had decreased personal hygiene, sloppy dressing, wearing the same clothes repeatedly. So, sound familiar, right? I mean, it's some of the same behaviors. So that's why these doctors like have caught on to, oh, this is affecting this part of their brain, and so they're acting like naturally born sociopaths. I mean, they don't know for sure if they're born, made, whatever. Like that's a thing. Like that's a debate right now, like with incarcerated individuals that did they have damage to their prefrontal cortex or their frontal lobe? Did they or it isn't developed yet for the young guys. This is a thing going on in the courts right now. Like it's they've found these links, and so a lot of people are using them like for their defense and things like that. So neither of these individuals, the male or the female, exhibited any antisocial behavior prior to this period in their lives. Yeah, it's really sad. What
Now,
do we
were you
think?
saying it's genetic? I couldn't remember if you said it was genetic or not.
I don't think so.
They don't know
Maybe.
why.
Well, maybe it
They
is. I
probably
don't know. I
don't
don't
know.
remember.
I mean, as they do more research, maybe that will come out. Going back to like, your brain's not fully developed in 25. That's something I knew, but of course I've taken like psych classes. Um, that's what's always infuriated me about them going after 18-year-old boys to join the military. Like nobody after 25, just maybe there are a few, but like there's not going to be a huge population of people willing to join the military after the age of 25 as much as there is these 18-year-olds because yeah, their brain isn't fully developed. And for all the same reasons we, like, don't let them drink before 21 and now, no nicotine before 21 because that, like, messes with your developing brain, but at 18, you can join the military. It's just, like it's for obvious reasons why they do it so young, to get people to actually join, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and you have to be. I mean, I guess you don't have to be, but it makes it easier if you're fit and young people
Mhm.
are fit.
True. There's that as well, but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. So that's been a thing for a long time, Laura, is what you're saying? Like that's not something new that we knew. Like it took
No.
I had no
Mm-mm.
idea.
I've known that since college, that it's at 25 when your brain is fully developed.
Wow. Yeah, I
I
did
don't
not know
know.
that.
I thought I just learned it from my psych class, but I don't know where I learned it for sure. It's too long ago to remember.
Yeah, the brain. It's an interesting place.
It is because you look at the brain as like this, like, if there's any damage to it, like you're gonna die. But it's amazing how much damage they can do to a brain and a person can continue to live. Like brain surgery where they have like tumors, and you'll hear like the doctors took out this entire section of their brain, but they can still like through time relearn, occupational therapy. They can relearn how to like walk and talk. It's like it's just crazy how much a brain how much damage a brain can take on and still function, just like the first guy you were talking about, the Phineas.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's why the original, back in the mid 1800s when they were figuring this out, I think that's why they were like so amazed. They were like, whoa, 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 wait a minute, wait a minute. There's a big hole in this guy's brain, and he can still do math and talk and walk totally normal. He can still reason. Like his cognitive ability was not altered. He was he was still as smart as he was before, like maybe a 1%, reduction, but nothing noticeable really. And so they're like, "Oh my gosh, this part of the brain isn't for any of that stuff. It's for social stuff." I think that was just really amazing to them. Like think about that. Like you wouldn't have assumed, I don't know, maybe psychologists did, but it was probably pretty fascinating for them to realize that.
Yeah, that different sections are meant for different things, right?
Right.
Like, yeah,
And
I
that
wonder if we knew that prior to him or if we learned that from his case.
they His case was just the most glaring, obvious one. They were studying mental patients for these types of things, and they probably weren't doing it very humanely, I'm sure, but around the same time, they were discovering this by basically experimenting on mental patients, unfortunately. So they would
Horrifying.
have figured this out by, lobotomizing
Barbaric
people and
means,
things
I'm
like that.
sure.
Yeah. So they would have figured it out, but this was just like a glaring, obvious example because it only went through his frontal lobe. You know what I mean? So it was just like, that's definitely where the center of our not reasoning, not analytical abilities, nothing like that. It's like well, I shouldn't say that because emotional intelligence, like under like social cues, like you're looking at me and you're giving me a weird look. Like I don't understand that if that's messed up. Like I don't know, I can't understands social cues as well as someone without frontal lobe damage or a sociopath, obviously. And they're diminished.
Sociopaths are not always, and I remember this because I took abnormal psych, because sociopaths, it's not always just a frontal lobe thing. They've been studied that their ventricles are actually larger.
Oh yeah. No,
So
their brains are different in other
their brains
ways.
are just
Agreed.
different, and maybe they
Yes.
notice those cues, they just don't care.
Yeah, they have less gray matter. Like there was a study
Theirs is like an
done.
empathy. They don't, they, as
Yeah,
we
there's
know, they
more
lack
to it. They
empathy.
have more wrong than just yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. They
Yeah,
have
theirs
stuff
is like a
that's
whole
wrong.
different ball of wax as far as sociopaths,
Right.
antisocial, psychopaths. I don't even know what's the DSM-5 call them now, because when I was taking abnormal psych, they were called antisocial, which people are always like, "Oh, I'm antisocial." I'm like, "I hope you're not." According to the DSM-4, I really hope you're not. But I haven't really got into psych since I took abnormal psych, and
I don't
that's
know. I hear
been 20 years.
sociopathy a lot in listening to podcasts and stuff. Like
Yeah,
I
I
hear
wonder if they've gone
sociopathy.
back to
I'm not
sociopath,
sure.
because they did antisocial for a while, but I feel like that term was just misunderstood by the common layperson. I mean, it makes sense because you're going against societal norms, right? So it's antisocial,
Yeah.
but it was
I
almost
just
like too
looked it
nice
up
of a term.
on Google, and it says
Mhm.
the correct clinical term for a sociopath is antisocial personality disorder.
No,
Yeah,
it's still the same.
it's
Still
been
the
like
same.
that since at least 2004 or
A sociopath is
2002.
considered informal or outdated.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So there was a study done of basically incarcerated people, and it happened over like 10, 12 years, like a long
Mhm.
time. They basically took data from other studies. So it ended up there was like a pool of like 800 incarcerated people, both murderers and non-murderers. And they included attempted murders in the murders. And then there was like the other people, and there was significant differences in their brain in the frontal lobe gray matter.
And when you say significant differences between the different groups, or just they were just different in general?
The murders and the attempted murders were vastly different than the other incarcerated people.
Got it.
Way different. There was a big difference between the murders. Now, you could make the assumption that that's why, but also, is it because they murdered? Correlation does not mean causation.
Right,
So
exactly.
we don't know. It's just
Yeah.
something
It's
I
so
thought
too
about
small of a
afterwards.
group. I mean,
So
800 is a lot, but it's too small. It's still too small of a
Yeah.
group to be studying.
And they're all
of the
in
two
prison.
groups, were anybody in either group diagnosed as having antisocial personality disorder?
They didn't
No,
take any
that
of that
wasn't a
into
factor.
consideration. They're just
Okay.
like had a bunch of brain scans of like
Okay.
800 incarcerated people.
Because
Like, I
not
think it
everyone
was men.
who has antisocial personality disorder, not all of them are murderers. So let's be clear on
Right.
that to those of you
Right.
listening,
No, that's
Yeah,
that we don't
exactly.
we
such a
don't
small
think that
percentage.
that
No.
it's that not all people who murder have antisocial
Well, yeah. What
personality
about
disorder. Not
crime of
all people who have
passions?
antisocial personality disorder murder either.
Exactly. Right.
So let's be
Yeah.
clear on that.
And yeah, I mean, what about the crime of passions? Like I can't remember her name, ran over her husband, like, when he was cheating on her and she like
I'm on
found
her
him in the
side.
hotel.
I'm always going to take the
Oh,
wife's side.
I know.
Yeah,
I just listened to that Morbid episode and they're like, "It's not okay." Both of those girls. I'm like,
Well, we have a different take. Jed was like, he was reading something about a woman that had murdered her husband, and he's like, "Did you hear?" I'm like, "Well, what did he do?
yeah.
What did he do?"
What did he do?
And he was like defending the husband. I'm like, "Nope. What did he do?" And I was just
Yeah.
messing with him. Like, it was not okay at
Right.
all. But I was just
I
messing
mean,
with
yeah,
Jed.
it isn't. But I mean, she was out of her mind, and like
Yeah.
he was like an awful human being. Like,
There's other ways
ugh.
to get back. You don't run
But
him
yeah,
over.
I
It's
mean,
not but I
she
get
should have
it.
just taken him to the cleaners. That would have been the smart move. But I think she was really out of her mind. Like,
Yeah.
hit him and
Well, they
run him over.
gaslight you too. Like, what has happened before this? What's the breaking point? Right? Where you're like, he's cheating on you, or he's doing something, and you keep like asking about it, and they're like, "What are you talking about? You're crazy. Nothing's happening." And so I'm not saying that's what happened in this episode or whatever, but
No, it
I
was
could
worse
see
than
where a
that.
woman like starts.
Yeah, it was worse than that because she was like, they were supposed to be best friends, business partners. I think
Oh.
that's why. Like, this was
Yeah.
just like all of a sudden
I might run
he-
over Jed for that
Yeah, I mean,
because we're business
But also
partners.
she
Passion.
had, like, changed her physique for him as well. She had gotten, like, surgeries,
Yeah.
right?
yeah,
that's what
because
And
red
she
flag
changed
found
right
out.
herself for him. She was
found
doing
out about this, and
everything
he
she
was supposed
could.
to break it off, and
Yeah,
it was
and he didn't.
terrible.
Sad.
So it
Right.
was broken promises,
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
Poor girl.
holding on to
she-
hope that wasn't there.
She flipped
It's
out. I mean, she did
devastating.
have his 16-year-old daughter in the car with her when he
Right,
did, so
that's
that's not
the-
a good
Oh,
thing.
yes.
Like,
Ooh,
That's
I
the
remember that
hardest
one
part of
now.
it all, was that
Yeah,
but if
that
you're
poor
out of your
sweet girl
mind, you're not
line.
even gonna think about that either, though.
No.
Right, she's
I
clearly
think
out of
she
her
was
mind.
just out of her mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
have breaking
Breaking
points,
point.
and she was there,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
And she went to prison. She got out, but she went to prison for a long time for that. So she went to prison
Yeah.
for like 20 years or so.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if I'd run over
she got
Jed.
her
Yeah.
punishment. I think she got her punishment.
I think we're smart enough. I'm not saying she's dumb. I get it. But I think that us three, our
Plan
would be
better if you're going to do
Yeah.
it, right?
How do I say this without giving myself away? Better planning.
No, we would
Okay.
never.
No, we love
never.
our husbands.
We
So-
love them so much.
We love them so much.
Again, I'd like to not comment.
My husband doesn't listen to our podcast, so I can say whatever I want.
Jed's still like on, I don't know what episode. I think he's like, we're listening to the contraception one. I'm like, of all episodes, why would, it doesn't seem like he'd be interested. But yeah.
Our mother's
way
our
behind.
biggest fan. Hi,
yeah,
Mom.
right. Yeah, Mom.
Thanks, Mom. We love you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we love
thank you,
Mom.
You're the
Mom.
best. If I had to pick who I love the most, it'd be you.
Yeah.
God, she's
yeah.
trying
I
to
doubt Dad will
kiss
ever listen
butt
to
now.
us. Yeah, right. There's something brown on
Lora.
your nose, Laura.
I'm just speaking truth, you guys. What are you talking about?
All right.
We all know
well,
who the favorite is. It's me.
Yeah, it's Heather. That's
Mom would
all
never
I
admit
have
it.
actually today. So thank you all for listening so much. I hope you enjoyed it. Join us next time for Is This the Norm?
Yeah.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.